lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm reviewing Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This is an absurdist fantasy take on the apocalypse. So the book is set in the 1990s, like 1991 when it was originally written. And we are following the apocalypse and the Antichrist as he reaches the age of 11 and is about to start off the end of times. All the angels and demons are like psyched and want this to happen. It's like this cosmic thing. So the Antichrist has his 11th birthday and that's supposed to kick off all these events. Only they've misplaced the Antichrist. There was kind of a mess up. So the baby was supposed to be switched at birth. So it's like this child of hell that has been switched with a human baby, except there was also another switch happening. So the Antichrist is actually living with this family in rural England rather than the child of an American diplomat. Because he had a completely different upbringing, he wasn't brought up the way he was supposed to be, and so he is this very human child who just wants to go explore and hang out with his friends and see the rest of the world. And everything about this is very human. Even though we're dealing with angels and demons, like, at the end, this is very much about humanity and what it means to be human and the importance of free will. A lot of the story ends up following an angel and a demon and their take on things as they decide that they actually kind of like humanity. They kind of like the earth the way it is, and they remember what heaven and hell are like respectively and aren't really too keen to go back to either one. Like, being all good or all evil isn't particularly fun. Having choices and seeing what humans will do when left to their own devices is really interesting. Plus, you know, we have chocolate and tea and fast cars and cable and things that are really interesting. So why would you want to end humanity? The demon we have is Crowley, who is described in the character list as an angel who did not so much fall as saunter vaguely downwards. And look, the Amazon show is happening, and I'm not going to lie, I've been watching some of those previews, and it is really hard not to, like, read this book, and just, it is David Tennant now, guys. Crowley is just, that's the voice in my head when I read this. It's amazing. I'm so excited for the show, guys. Okay, going back to the book. And then the other main character we have is Aziraphale, who is an angel and part-time rare book dealer. So we have this angel and this demon. They're basically rooting for humanity at this point. Like, yes, they've been here for thousands of years, but they've kind of grown attached to us. Like, we're cute little buggers, honestly. We do surprising things and interesting things. And, like, Crowley describes that, like, the things humans come up with on the evil side, like, no demon could possibly think of things that people do in the name of Satan. And, Aziraphale also is looking at humanity and saying, you know what, sometimes they surprise you. Sometimes they're good on their own, and they don't need heaven's influence. Like, they can be good to each other. Also, not always being good can make life interesting. And there's, like, a lot of gray area where humanity is just fun. So those are our two main characters who are deciding that maybe we're going to stop the apocalypse from happening. And also try to, like, figure out what's happening in the first place with, like, the misplaced Antichrist. Basically, we're following several groups of people. We have the angel and the demon. We also have the Antichrist and his friend. So this is an 11-year-old boy named Adam Young who has just been brought up perfectly normal. He loves playing in the dirt and riding his bikes. And he and his friends have made up this gang, and there's this other group of kids from their grade, and they're kind of rival gangs, and they're 11, so it's not too serious, especially out in the country. Like, they just like pranking each other and messing with each other. And yeah, sometimes they get into fights, but they're kids, and they're just enjoying being kids. And yeah, Adam has powers and can, like, control the universe, but, like, mostly he just wants to be a kid. And have a dog, which conveniently shows up on his 11th birthday. This hellhound who also decides that maybe being a normal dog isn't so bad either. I love the choices and the humanity aspect of this. And then we also have the Witchfinders. So we have Shadwell and his underling, Newton Pulsifer. It's a weird name. So Newton Shadwell, who Their entire job is just to, like, go find witches. It's a carryover from, like, the 1600s when there used to be, like, an official witch hunter general, and if they are technically officially the witch hunters for England. It's just that everybody else in the government has kind of forgotten about them, and they're kind of still getting paid the wages from the 1600s, and are expected to keep carrying on. And so the two of them are just kind of carrying on as if it were still the 1600s. I mean, they have, like, an apartment they're renting, and they're, like, updated to, like, looking at newspapers, and, like, have a phone that they share with everybody else in the house, but, like, also it's still basically the 1600s. It's such a weird, it's so funny to watch them, like, this carryover from this old day. And then also we have the subtitle of this book coming into play, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter Witch. So Agnes Nutter was this witch in the 1600s, about 400 years ago, and she is the only person to ever come up with a book of prophecies that is 100% accurate. They're really vague, and Agnes didn't always know what she was seeing, so she describes things in really weird terms, trying to, like, things that she understood. Also, this is before grammar, so spelling and grammar gets a bit confusing at times. All of her descendants have taken on this book that she wrote and trying to decipher it and figure out what each of the prophecies mean. And we get to Anathema Device, who was the current descendant, the last descendant, the one who has the book, and she's the one when the actual apocalypse happens, and she gets to, like, deal with that. So she sort of has an idea of what's about to happen, but also a lot of these are open to interpretation, just because Agnes didn't know what she was describing, so Anathema's got to figure it out. What exactly does each prophecy mean? Which, I love the ridiculousness of it. Like, she is spot on. Like, if you look at it from the past, and even a few members of their family have been able to figure things out, like, just before they happened. Like, knowing the stock market was going to collapse, and, like, everything that happened in England at that time. Like, her family knew about it and was able to, like, capitalize on that, and a few other things. Like, they've got some money from these prophecies. Like, a few of them they cracked ahead of time, but most of them are ones that, like, after the fact are like, oh, that's what that means. And so Anathema has all these, like, notes from her family members and her ancestors deciphering it. So there are also other characters populating this: angels, demons, the voice of God, the devil. They're just not the ones we're mainly following, and they're just not quite as much fun as our main characters. It definitely feels in the vein of Discworld. So if you've read Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels, like, it's absolutely ridiculous, it's absolutely absurd, but it's also satirical, and there's definitely commentary on what we're doing as humans, and humanity, and history, which I love. It also takes a lot of Neil Gaiman's darker things in here. I mean, we're dealing with demons. We're definitely on this very huge scale, and Neil Gaiman has this way of, like, bringing it down to individual stories. Like, we're dealing with individuals. We're dealing with Crowley, and we're dealing with Aziraphale, and we're dealing with Adam. And these are specific characters that we know, and so, yes, this war is raging all around them, but, like, what we care about are these characters that we know and we get used to, and they're so amazing and so lovable. It's hard not to, like, root for the people who are rooting for us as humanity also. So, that's an amazing part of this book. There's also the Riders of the Apocalypse, which I forgot about. They make appearances. They are all incarnations of their things. So we have death, famine, war, and then pestilence has now become pollution in our modern era. And we have these four creatures running around as actual, like, humans, basically. I mean, death's a little bit different and, like, so much more amazing. But the other three are, like, actual people, and they have these roles, and they take on jobs, and they interact with humans. Death is basically the Grim Reaper, and definitely is Death from Discworld, and he even talks in all caps, which is something that Death does in the Discworld novels, and it just made me so happy the first time he spoke, and I'm like, he did the thing! He did the thing! It's actually Death! Which is my favorite character in Discworld, by the way, so the fact that he's also in, like, Good Omens, and, like, seems to be, like, the same character, basically, filling the same role, was amazing. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but, like, close enough. I so love that. I should not love death. Like, I shouldn't love death as much as I do, but, like, he makes me happy. There's probably something wrong with me, but whatever. I love the little things in this book, like the fact that any cassette tape that is in Crowley's car for too long, it just becomes the Best of Queen album, which is also just amazing because it's Queen and Freddie Mercury. Hello. So it doesn't matter how long it's been in there. He'll like talk about like there's some Mozart or something, but now it's Queen. Also, the demons communicate with him through this cassette deck. So like hell can talk to him and will just sound like Freddie Mercury randomly. The tiny details in this book are amazing, and what makes it like so awesome and so funny. I'm not gonna lie, this book is probably not for everyone. If you were like super religious and like know you can't mess with the Bible, probably not for you. If you don't really have a huge sense of humor and don't love absurd stuff, like if you don't like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or any of Neil Gaiman or Terry Pratchett's other works, then you're probably not gonna like this either, because this is like the epitome of all of that. It's so brilliant. I really enjoyed Good Omens. I am so psyched for the show now. Please, can we have it now? Like, I know it's the last week and it's coming, but like also, like, I want to watch it right this second. I end up giving this 5 stars. I'm actually kind of glad that I waited so that I could read everything with David Tennant's voice in it. I love David Tennant. He's definitely one of my favorite actors. And he's such a great voice. So, like, this made me ridiculously happy, guys. Just that's all you need to know. So yeah, I definitely recommend Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I will link other Neil Gaiman, and I think I have other Terry Pratchett books that I've reviewed down in the description below if you want to check out my thoughts on some other books. If you've read Good Omens, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Are you psyched for the Amazon show, or are you watching this after that show has been released, and what did you think of it? Hello, future people. I'm so jealous of you right now. I'm jealous of future me, too. What's your favorite Discworld novel? Do you love Neil Gaiman? I don't know. Anyway, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.